James Reid reporting there. Well, joining from Birmingham is the former Home Secretary Jaqui Smith, and in the studio, Jerry Barnett of the Adult Industry Trade Association. Thanks very much to both of you for your time this evening. Jaqui Smith, you've got a son, a teenage boy. How worried are you for him that it's very easy now to get free porn?
Well, I am worried, and when I did some research for the radio programme that I made, the fact that it's now possible on the internet without any proof of age, without any need to identify yourself, to get access to some pretty hardcore pornography, as we heard there, featuring anal sex, double penetration, group sex, and there being no restriction and no need to prove your age even to get on there, I think is very worrying, and that is a world away from what, you know, those of us who were teenagers when pornography meant passing a magazine around or even potentially sharing a video. We have come an awful long way since then, and I think it is vital that both those who are producing pornography, but particularly as well the internet service providers who are putting that into people's laptops and in the future into people's televisions, take responsibility for making sure that young people aren't watching the amount and the nature of pornography they're watching now.
I mean, Jaqui said that, for a start, this wasn't about underage people like your 14-year-old son looking at porn. There are filtering solutions out there that have been out there for years that you can install on his PC. But
is it, the bottom line is it's too easy and it's too cheap. I mean, you know, without going through all that, it shouldn't be that available, should it?
How available? I mean, if it's filtered, then you can't get to it. I mean, the survey was about adults looking at porn, and actually it seems, I managed to look at the survey today, there seems to be a very small problem. Actually, it seemed that 4% of the people who responded actually said they looked at porn 10 hours or more a day.
Jaqui Smith, do you take that point on, that you can opt out? You know, you can filter. It shouldn't have to be an opt-in system. You can just opt out.
Well, there are two things here. First of all, apparently the vast majority of parents actually don't know how to filter the internet for their children. Of course, we should take responsibility as parents, but when I turn on the television or in cinemas or in magazines or books, there is regulation already in place, and I don't think it is good enough for the industry to totally put responsibility onto us as consumers to filter it.
The British industry is already...
The second point is about, you know, this isn't a problem. Well, when young women like Hannah and Sarah say that they're seeing the effects, when we know that a third of girls in schools have reported unwanted sexual contact from boys, I think it is having an effect on young and not so young people.
That's obviously a sad statistic. The thing is, those are 19-year-old girls. I believe that the problem...
We shouldn't listen to them, therefore,
Of course we should, but certainly, how bad was the problem 10, 20, 30 years ago? All of the statistics, all of the indications are that actually these things have not got any worse. If anything, these statistics have improved over time.
The boys themselves, you know, the guys playing snooker in Sheffield, they were saying, I admit, it changed my relationships. It normalised things that shouldn't be normal.
One or two of them have said that. The thing is, if you ask the right questions...
23%, actually.
Well, 23% of people said they had a problem with porn. They didn't necessarily say it. They said it had some effect on their lives. That surveys can very easily...
Jaqui, there is a point to that, isn't it? That we get used to things. You know, a generation ago, you know, Penthouse might have seemed fine, but it probably wasn't to your mum.
Jaqui said you said when you're handing magazines around at school, and actually I listened to your radio documentary, and you had never encountered porn until you made that documentary. Now, when I was at school in the early 80s, porn magazines were currency in the playground. When I was at work in the mid to late 80s, pirated VHS cassettes were currency in the office. They passed from hand to hand.
So nothing's changed. I
said I'd never watched a porn film, and I did as part of my research. And the most shocking thing, I'm afraid, Jerry, was the way in which pornography is available without any proof of age, without any need to identify yourself on the internet for people of whatever age. And why don't you, if you're representing the legitimate, so-called legitimate industry, why aren't you actually trying to prevent people under 18 having free access to pornography? Why don't you stop being an apologist?
Hang on, Jaqui, because that's unfair, because actually I would love all the free stuff to go away, and the industry would love the free stuff to go away. I'm speaking from a free speech point of view. The step towards censorship is much more worrying, and actually in your documentary, you tried to prove harm from porn and you didn't prove it. And that actually, since the rape...
Jaqui Smith, let me just ask the question back to you a second. You're the former Home Secretary. As Home Secretary, don't you wish that you had tried a bit harder to clamp down on something that clearly worries you and angers you?
Well, I outlawed extreme and violent pornography. I set up the UK...
What do you mean that you outlawed it?
Well,
no,
I made it illegal.
Didn't.
I made it illegal. And I also set up the UK Council for Child Internet Safety.
Can I just point out that there was more violent porn available on the internet 10 years ago than there is today. The internet has self-regulated in all sorts of ways without the need for regulation. In the UK, we already have more regulation on this subject than any other Western country.
You know that young people are getting access to pornography on the internet and it's changing their behaviour.
We don't know if it's changing their behaviour.
If you want to be considered responsible, you need to do something about it.
Thank you both very much indeed. Thank you.